All right, what's up, everybody? So, as you guys know, I posted up a lower body training log yesterday. I just got a comment a few minutes ago that provoked some ideas, and I think it's a good point of discussion. I think it hits close to some of the pillars of this channel and of my lifting philosophy, and beyond the lifting philosophy, my purpose of the channel and the morals that I have of this channel that I don't talk about a whole ton, but I think this provides me a pretty good opportunity to do so. So there's a few points that will all tie together and it will all make sense. His comment is, bro, with all due respect, your leg development is poor even for a natty. I know you think you are advanced, but your legs just aren't there. Maybe upper body with good lighting is decent, but you're not in a position to give advice on legs when yours need a lot of help. It's like you aren't hitting legs enough, maybe just a quick observation, because if you have time to throw a back move on your leg day, then something just isn't right. So there's a couple things that I think are worth talking about in this comment. There's a couple things like the exercise selection order and if I think I'm advanced or whatnot. I don't think that's worth talking about. I think that's just different opinions and whatnot. But when it comes to my overall leg development, this is something that is true. I agree with him here. My legs are, I let them lose size. Like, I'm just going to be real here. I talked about that in the training log too. And I think one of the most important things for the ethics of my channel is that I'm transparent. When I was a follower, and I'm still a follower, don't get this wrong at all. Of course, yes, I make content now, but I also still follow a ton of people. But before I made content, when I was a younger, more impressionable, inexperienced lifter, the one thing that drove me crazy was influencers not being transparent. And it's because deep down you know that a lot of fitness and a lot of social media is fake and lies in special lighting and hiding weaknesses and not showing the full picture, but you don't see it, and it makes you question your sanity. I was never bad enough to the point where I had to deal with more severe issues like body dysmorphia or anything like this, but I'd argue that the majority of the fitness community does deal with body dysmorphia to some degree. And I can't quite speak firsthand on that, but I see the effects that it has on people. And part of what I set out to do with this channel was to be transparent. If I'm going to show you guys the upper body gains that I make, I'm going to show you part of why I made those great gains. And it's because I stopped training my legs for the most part. I kept training my quads, yes, but I had to put deadlifts and RDLs not even on the back burner. I just stopped doing them. Like I said in that video, I stopped doing them for 9 months. So if I'm going to show you guys the highs, I'm also going to show you the lows. And I have empathy for content creators too, because I'm filming this video right now, and in the back of my head, I know that, of course, these people aren't in front of me. I'm not speaking to an audience, but within a day or two, there's going to be 5,000 to 10,000 people that have watched this video. And that's an absolute privilege. And I don't take that for granted at all. But it's still a factor. Knowing that many people are going to see me talk and that many people are going to see how my legs look, how my upper body looks as a fitness channel, as a bodybuilding channel in particular, that's not easy. So I understand why a lot of influencers and content creators maybe don't show the lows or show their weaknesses. And yeah, I think part of it's, in cases it is malicious. I think people are setting out to say, all right, well, how can I Photoshop and manipulate this just to get a following and get sponsors and make money off of this? But I think at the same time, a lot of content creators maybe they're insecure. Maybe they're afraid to show off their weaknesses. And I'm not going to sit here like, oh, I'm perfectly fine. I don't care what people think and I'll just show whatever. It was tough for me to put out that video because I know I've let my legs shrink. I'm being real. This is a foundation of the ethics of my channel. If I'm going to show you guys the highs and show you the chest gains, the shoulder gains, how big my arms and forearms are looking, I'm going to show you the low points and the sacrifice I had to make for my leg gains in order to make those upper body gains. if I was acting like, oh yeah, my legs are just growing just like everything else, and everyone's sitting here like, how the fuck is he growing everything all the time perfectly? That's going to drive you crazy. I am able to make gains in certain areas because I'm cutting back on certain areas. The fatigue of RDLs and deadlifts that I used to do did not allow me to get the upper body that I wanted. So I made a trade. And yeah, I let my legs suffer, but I also got a pretty good benefit in other muscle groups from it. So I think that's one pretty important topic of this comment that I did want to cover. And I think the other portion that I want to talk on here too is him saying that I'm not in a position to give leg training advice. And I think there can be some truth to this. I think my personal stance is that I've had extremely big glutes and hamstrings in the past. My quads have always been a tough point for me to grow. And I think that I'm not perfect. I don't have the best legs. I definitely don't have the best legs for a natural. In my experience with lifting and leg training in particular is something that I don't think many people have gotten to or gone through before. So to paint the picture of what I've done with my training, I know I've talked about it a lot on the channel in the past, of course, but I fell for the meme of just get stronger. And as you guys know, I was pretty strong, and I fell for that kind of lie, whether it was an intentional lie or just a misinformation, quote unquote, about lifting, was the whole just get stronger thing. So what did I do? I just got stronger. And I want you guys to know that I'm an average person when it comes to genetics. I'm nothing special. I started off very skinny. I was very light. I was very thin. I'm not particularly tall or short. I'm just a normal person that had a hard time putting on muscle, quote unquote hard gainer. So what did I do? When I first got into lifting, I fell for that just get stronger advice. So I went in the gym and I lifted a lot, high volume, high frequency, high effort, and I got strong as fuck. I got my squat from whatever it was when I first started to repping out 405 for moderate to high reps multiple times a week, and I was pretty damn strong. And this is that point that was the fork in the road for me, because I got that big squat and I got those high reps, hitting depth of course, but I wasn't big. So this is where my buddy Natural Hypertrophy brings in the strength coper mindset. And this is that fork in the road that I came to that I was lucky enough to avoid. So I got that super strong squat. And at that point, I was still small. Keep in mind, I went into the gym initially and I started lifting to get bigger. I wanted to bodybuild. This is a bodybuilding channel. That's always been my goal. So it felt great. It boosted my ego. It fed my ego to be able to rep out that weight. The weight that most people couldn't even hold on their back, let alone rep out with great technique. When I was at that point, I was getting the feedback. Everybody was like looking at me at the gym, asking me questions. How do I get strong? When you're strong and you're moving heavy weights in the gym, people just gravitate towards you and it feels great. Obviously, it's a cool thing to be able to help people in that regard. But there was one problem, and it's that wasn't my goal. I just ended up there based on advice that turned out to be bad for me. And honestly, the secret here that nobody talks about is genetics. And I'm not here to black pill you and tell you you can't gain muscle because of your genetics. It's that the stuff that works for the influencers on TikTok and Instagram, the guys that are either on PEDs or just have great genetics, doesn't work for everybody. And I'm a perfect example of that because I'm an average, normal human being with average, normal genetics and average, normal leverages. I fell for that trap. I got strong as fuck. Sure enough, I wasn't as big as the guys that I was following, and it drove me nuts. So what did I do? I looked for more advice. Every time I'm looking for advice or asking for advice online, just get stronger. Oh, just get your squat up if you want bigger legs. Pretty straightforward. The people that give this advice and the people that were giving me just giving the community advice were people that had great genetics, that simple minimalist method worked for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you can get away with that, great. The vast majority of people can't get away with that. So whether I have average genetics or if I have bad genetics and I just don't understand that because I was able to outwork it, I'm at a point where I can either stick to what's boosting my ego, that heavy squat and those big numbers, and what's the people that are giving me good feedback because of how strong I am in the gym, or I could go into uncharted territory and avoid the advice that I've been given this whole time and try new things. And it took a while to make that decision, but ultimately I made the right call and I tried new things. I ditched that philosophy, and it's tough to drop that because it's the thing that feels good. It's the thing that everybody's telling me to do. And ultimately, I had to realize this is myself and it didn't work. So I had to try something else. And this is where, even though I was doing higher volume, pushing just as hard, and I was training with more frequency back then, I'm making better progress now. And when you look at my quads in particular, my quads are actually bigger now. Yes, I've lost size in my hamstrings and glutes, 100%. And I made sure to say that and talk about that in the video. That's why I mentioned that for the past 9 months, I haven't trained my glutes, low back, spinal erectors, or hamstrings at all. I've been doing a little bit of quad training, and even just that little bit, doing it properly has given me better gains than repping out 405 on squats often and everything being right on paper. So the moral of the story here is that I had an issue with my training. I had to go out and find a new way to make things happen. So at that point where I could have just given up and said, oh, you know what, I'm strong, this feels good, I can look down upon everybody that's weaker than me, I ultimately had to admit that's not what I wanted. And I had to find a new method. I had to sacrifice that great feeling of being able to lift a ton of weight and go into uncharted territory of something I didn't even know that would work for me. And ultimately, it's working decently well. I think I am making gains, especially in this year when I'm going to ramp things up a bit. I assume, of course, I'm going to learn this year, so I hope I learn this year. I had to go in, and I had to go into uncharted territory, as I said. And ultimately, I think I'm making the best of it. And the reason why I film my lifts is to be transparent and to show you guys, hey, I'm somebody that fell for that advice, that just get stronger, and it didn't work. And now I have to experiment with more specific, train with more accuracy, and optimize things as much as I can. So I'm going to share that with you guys. It's the transparency that I aim to bring on this channel. So that's pretty much all I've got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you understand where I come from. I think I respect his comment. It's not easy to say something like that to somebody else, an influencer that could make a video response like I'm doing now. So I'm not making this video to tear this person down. This is mostly just, this comment is a good opportunity for me to present my case and for me to present the ethics of the channel and my overall mindset with this stuff. So I hope this was of help. I will see you guys soon.